Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today? Alongside me, brother Doug. What's up, man?
Hey, we survived another week to do this again, Zach.
We did.
Unbelievable.
By the
So
skin
when-
of our teeth. But
Say that again?
I said by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah, well, I mean, so when you have a flat tire, do you just keep like tires over your shoulder? How does that work when you're a bike rider? I don't
No,
understand.
it's tubes, my friend. Tubes.
Full tubes. So you just have like a Batman utility belt with tubes.
I have a pouch underneath my the crossbar.
Yep.
Has two tubes, two CO2 cartridges, a little inflator, and basically all the wrenches and Allen wrenches and the tire spoons. Like that's all in there. So I popped the front wheel off and dropped
What
it down.
makes, what makes the tube fail so fast?
That was glass. So Illinois, being Illinois, our roads are shit, and so are our trails. I couldn't go down the main trail because it's still downed with trees, and so I had to kind of take the road, and we have the largest inland port in the country, so we have a ton of intermodal truck yards everywhere. And I was riding down on one of the main drags and picked up a piece of glass or a screw or who knows what those guys throw out of their trucks or fall off their trucks or whatever. So I'm just about to take a turn out here.
I don't think I've ever worn out a tube. Well, at least since I was like 10, 12 years old back in the day. But I'm impressed, Zach, because we're very close in age, aren't we? Compared, if we look at each other's beards and stuff, very similar gray. Yeah. No, that's impressive, man. So you're doing a race soon, right? That's why you're
the end of August, 50 miler. I did the 25 miles last year. I'm doing the 50 this year. So
got it. I figured you had to be doing something.
Yeah, every state but Illinois, Illinois is just turd when it comes to this stuff. Now I will give so in my journey, I went through 4 towns. Okay. The western area, it has by far the best trail. Shanahan and Minooka actually have the best trails in our area. They actually have nice wide asphalt bike and walking ways. It's really nice.
Sometimes, like, I think the best way to handle this is to watch a documentary about cycling, and that way you're playing it safer, and you run out of snacks during the middle of it. That's your tire blowout moment.
That's no fun. I got see, that interferes with the other bike race, Jeremy. I actually did think about it, and this year it literally would have been hotter than hell. There's a 100-mile bike race down there that Rob was trying to get me to go to. And actually my friend that I did the 50-mile with last year, he was talking about going this year, and this year there's a good chance it's gonna be.
Yeah. It's during the summer. It's in August.
Yeah, it's literally the last weekend in August. Both races are literally the last weekend in August. So it might be cooler in hell than Texas right now. It's a real crapshoot there.
This doesn't sound like logical thinking here, Zach, to ride your bike in August.
Yeah. I like it. There's our theme for the week is thinking, and it gives me a lot of time to do thinking and listening to books and stuff like that. So, yeah. I mean, 40 miles was like 3 hours. It's a lot of time to think and listen and learn and
absolutely,
dedicate. So I don't know. I got Dean and I got Doug, both of them commenting on Strava, like trying to help me troubleshoot. It's like skinny, crappy tires and crappy roads. There's not a whole ton I can do, but get a better bike someday.
There you go. Morning, Shane.
So you had some family time this weekend too. You got to the beach, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the beach is like 40 minutes from here. It's not the best beach in the world, but it fills the wife's tank, and that's important, right? I do appreciate the younger generation focusing on a balanced life. Not that my wife is the younger generation, but we've got a lot of things that we have to do and get done. But sometimes you just got to take a break and fill your tank, right? And so for you, bike riding seems to do it. It seems to that is bizarre to me, and so is the beach, by the way. Sitting there, looking at the water and the air and the pigeons of the beach, the seagulls. But who am I to judge? I don't really have my Zen place that excites me, so I'm in search of that. That's what I set as a goal beginning of last year, is to find something that excites me besides work and family, and pick up a hobby. Still haven't figured it out yet. So I'm taking suggestions, except from Saul and Rob and Rob.
You don't know what you like and don't like until you try it.
They try it,
So you
absolutely.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I picked up bike riding as an accident. I needed to fill in the gaps on days that I wasn't running last year, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this. It's a little more fun. Who knew?
Yep.
But we got a good topic today. We got a really good topic today, kind of leaning into thinking. I wrote it in the description, though I don't know how many of you actually read the description, so I sure don't. Ever read a Choose Your Own Adventure book, Doug?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Those were a lot of fun. I don't even know where to go with that.
Yeah, when you have 2 cups of coffee on a Monday morning, you can really go deep. You were watching a documentary on the Kings of England, and he drags that into something about me being fat. Pretty good there, man.
Oh boy. So Choose Your Own Adventure book, right? So we play that game every day, right?
Yeah.
So we have a chance in all of our interactions, whether with our team members or with customers or the random stranger on the street. We're playing Choose Your Own Adventure. And so we can either choose to assume things about them, or we can choose to figure out what's really going on. We can choose to interact on a deeper level. And I'll probably reference a little bit of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People in this, because he does have a lot to say on this topic of interaction. But it's kind of where we're going. How do we handle that? How do we not assume? How do we take the thinking pattern and shut it down temporarily to hear what the other people are saying? So that's kind of where we're going today.
All right. Well, let me get us in prayer, and we'll get started.
Nice.
Lord God, we thank you for that time that we get to rest and to think about our lives, our family, our future. Lord, I pray that you be at the heart and the center of all those thoughts, that you guide us. Lord, you're a God that is not political and not about proving others to be wrong, but to come alongside and to love them, to help them reflect, to help them see truth in the real situation. And so, Lord, we just pray for that the people that listen and watch have a time, whether it's on a bike or getting up early in the morning or whatever it is, to have a time of reflection, to seek you, to find our purpose, and to help us come alongside and love one another. This morning, Lord, I lift up Shayna to you. We thank you for Shayna's contribution to our community. We thank you for her passion to learn and to grow. We thank you that she uses her gifts like iron and has created a wonderful team at My Office Help. And so, Lord, we lift her up to you and pray that she be a great leader this week and come alongside and guide others. In Jesus' name, amen.
So Doug, you're kind of the king of this, man. Like you don't assume anything, or you assume the best in everything. So why don't you kind of lead off like how you approach this in your day-to-day
I
interaction?
think it starts with the why. Like, why would you want to do that? What's your purpose and your reason? And with that, I think it makes it easier. So if you're just doing it because someone told you it's the right thing to do, or that it'll cause you less conflict in your life, there's doesn't sound very appealing. But if you had a goal or a direction that you're trying to head in and get to a place, this is going to make it a lot easier. So for instance, at Action Appliance or in my life, it's never about being right. It really isn't. And it took me many years to get to that place where it's okay to never be found to be the one that's right. It's about compromise all the time. It's about everyone around you having success. And so that makes it easier. I think that's the secret ingredient, is that I don't need to be right. I don't even want to be right. I know that it's impossible, because if someone's right and someone's wrong, then someone's feeling terrible unless they're learning from it. But that's something that doesn't come easy by a lot of human beings, or I'd hate to be wrong all week long and just be found over and over to be wrong. That would be exhausting. So it's about compromise. It's about recognizing things. So I think it starts with the why, Zach.
So you kind of follow Principle 7 from Dale Carnegie. To get the best of an argument, avoid it.
Yeah.
Like you naturally do that.
But there's something fake about that too, though, Zach. If you just, again, excuse me, if you're thinking that you have to be right,
we're always wrong. We're literally always wrong.
That's the daily exercise, Saul, is always being wrong with your wife. Sorry, honey. So Saul always distracts me. Always. No, I think it's not authentic if, again, you're just trying to avoid conflict. Now it almost feels like you're on the defense. So that doesn't necessarily describe, I think, the most healthiest way.
I think it's just a brief bullet point.
Oh, no, I agree. I'm sure Dale Carnegie has it figured out, but just in case someone heard you say that and thought, well, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit there going around pussyfooting around and avoiding,
We're a little bit backwards. I gave the bullet point and then you gave the full description of what to do. So just flip that around and it'll be okay. No, but really, if you're always trying to be right, you're always going to end up being wrong at the end of the day, because it doesn't do any good for anyone if you're out there always trying to be right.
Yeah.
And the Chicago in me is like, gosh darn it, I'm always right. So it is definitely a practice every day to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And then one of the other things he said, so bullet point, become genuinely interested in other people. And so I think if you're trying not to assume, what's the best way to do that? Well, this is kind of the why, right? You want to be genuinely interested in other people, to kind of get outside of your own world, right?
And I love that you bring that up, Zach, because I think that for a lot of people, and some people for sure, that's a difficult thing. It's how do you genuinely connect with somebody, especially when you're a service technician going into a person's home. You've got a job, you've got to fix the appliance, but you got to make a connection with the customer. So a lot of times you're doing both those things at the same time. So you don't want to have to put all your energy into trying to make that authentic connection. So the best thing to do, it feels like it might be cheating a little, but it's to be prepared. You have to come up with questions that you're comfortable sharing that sound like they come from you, that are meaningful questions that will get them to open up, that will get them not to reveal their dark secrets, but to show them that you care. And once they open up and share a little bit about themselves, then they feel safe, and then it becomes authentic because it's real.
Yeah, and so Saul brought up a good comment. We're going to come back to that at the end, Saul, because I do think that is an important thing. I just don't want to get derailed on it at the moment. I think there is something to be said about being genuine in it too. There's nothing wrong with trying to connect to people, but I think there is a wrong way to do it. And one of the books that I was listening to the other day, Sales EQ, I think I referenced it a little bit. He talks about one of his mentors had this stupid little tchotchke in his office. Like it's this ugly, nasty thing. He leaves it on his bookshelf. And he does it because he deals with salespeople all the time. So they're always in and out of his office. And so he has this ugly little tchotchke that he literally hates. It means nothing to him other than it's a laugh to see salesmen come in and try and create this BS rapport with him because they see the stupid tchotchke on the shelf, right? And so there's nothing wrong with noticing, like if, I've been to a customer's house and they got Bears memorabilia like everywhere and signed stuff. And it's like, oh, wow, like you really are a Bears fan. That's cool. Like, how did that start? And, you can actually get to know someone. But just picking like some random thing to create this kind of like fake thing. I genuinely am interested if someone has that much Bears memorabilia. Like there's a story behind that. Why do you have that much stuff? Like what led you to that? Was it that's like me having Cubs stuff, right? Like I can sit and I can tell a story about how, when I was a kid, I would sit and watch Cubs games with my grandma every day at lunchtime because they were all like day games at that point. And, watching Sammy Sosa run the bases when he was 160 pounds soaking wet, he wasn't this roided out crazy guy, right? But that means something to me. So if you saw a Cubs memorabilia in the house like that you could find a genuine connection point. And so I guess where that goes is don't be fake, right? Like be genuine in that. Don't just pick some like stupid little thing and try and force a connection. Like actually be interested in other people.
I mean, we're talking about techniques, and that can make it sound like a sales pitch, but it's really to help us figure out how to be the best version of ourselves when it comes to making a connection with people, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So what he says in the book is rapport is crap. And that was kind of what he was saying, like pick out a tchotchke and you try and create this rapport and that's crap. It's not authentic. Create the genuine connection. Really try to get to know who someone is. And that's what Doug was really hammering home, was the authenticity of it. And
Sure.
Why?
It helps because there's going to be disappointment along the way. There's going to be expectations that the customer had that you were unaware of, and they might be disappointed. They might be frustrated. And so you got to have coins in the bank. They have to. What was can you think of, this is putting you on the spot, Zach, but can you think of your last amazing, excellent customer service experience as a customer? And what were some of those things, if you have one, that stood out to you, that made you in your brain say like, okay, I got it. I'm in the right place right now.
Yeah, I mean, so it can go sour really quickly, right? So this one actually, it's 2-part story. So local muffler shop, they replaced my entire exhaust, cat's back all the way last year in September. And somewhere along the way, one of the cats failed. I don't know if it's because it's aftermarket or, just bad manufacturing, whatever. Who knows? We could still be in COVID crap with that. I have no idea. And so they did a fantastic job. They came highly recommended and all that. And then I had an issue after I replaced my transmission. They had cut the exhaust and welded it back extremely poorly. So I took it to the muffler shop. I said, I've only had 2 people work on it. It's you guys and them. So, this at the moment is an exhaust issue. Is there something you can do to fix it? What do I need to pay? Is it a failed weld? What? Turns out it was transmission shop cut it and did a bad job. Cool. They didn't charge me. Fantastic. Have you do my brakes, because you also do brakes, whatever. So my cats had completely failed at this point. Said, whatever it takes, I just warranty them. If I got to pay for the labor, I don't care. I need this to be taken care of, because Illinois, we have to have emissions control every other year. So they go from being really good and understanding what I want and hearing like that I'm willing to pay and willing to, I'm not trying to get them to give me everything, right? To when he comes back, blaming me for a problem in the part. And I went, you just lost a customer for life. Like, you would have had a customer for life. I would have sent everyone here.
Yeah.
But then you started blaming me when I was willing to even pay. I'm not expecting you to do the work for free. I just want the part covered, the thing that failed. I will pay for the, and because he couldn't get past that, it went from an amazing serve to he understood the customer to a really poor experience really fast.
Yeah.
So
that's a Chicago story.
I mean, it's customer service. And you can't tell me that you haven't had a technician go from stellar serving a customer to crap in a second.
What do you think was the reason why he came back all of a sudden with a changed mindset and sort of trying to blame you? What do you think happened there?
Well, I think he didn't fully listen to what I was saying. Is that like, I just want the thing taken care of. I don't care what it takes. I'm not expecting him to go the full length. I'm willing to pay.
Right.
But I think he heard warranty, and that's kind of where his brain stopped. And isn't it hard to not take things personal, Doug? Right. Yeah. And so you hear this customer attacking your work, and all of a sudden you're on the defensive, and it shuts your brain down. It does. And that's why I kind of shared the story of how it went from great to poor, because how many times as service technicians has that happened? We do this fantastic work and we're serving the customer well, and then all of a sudden the customer says the part failed, this didn't work, you guys didn't fix this, da 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 da. How easy is it to take that personally? You have to take that step back and go, what's really going on here? Let me listen to what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And kind of dissect it. If that muffler tech would have taken a moment, and I'm pretty sure he's the owner, he would have taken a pause to really hear what I was saying. I just want the part covered. I just want the thing that failed, and I will pay you for your labor. I'm not expecting you to pay for the whole thing. But if he would have taken that pause, he would have heard that. I think he stopped short, started to take it personal, and then just couldn't get past it. And how many of us have been in that situation?
Sure.
I guarantee every single one of us have been in that situation.
Well, it's interesting because he could be a guy that needs to be right. And he was maybe even willing to do what needed to be done. But as soon as you were sort of maybe possibly, or he felt like you were alleging that his workmanship wasn't great and he's thinking that's not true, now he digs in defensively. I also like what you said, that he might not have been a good listener, because you gave the complete story of what you were hoping for. And if he was distracted, or if he was already obsessing about himself and not listening, he wasn't able to read you as a customer, And it could also be that his company is in shambles and he makes so many mistakes every single day that he comes to work on the defense, ready to fight everything, but not realizing that when you don't have great process and procedure, when you don't do great work, you're always going to be playing catch up, and it's a miserable place to be, right? So I do the same thing, Zach. I sit there and try, like, while it's all happening, try to figure out which one, like in this situation, which one of these categories is this guy in? And then you got to sit there and decide what you're. I hate being the customer and sort of running the chessboard, because I do have a van that had a transmission replaced in Rhode Island. It's about an hour and a half from our office, and so everything's remote. And it's been back in and out 5 times, and the garage subbed it out to a transmission shop, and so it's a big hot mess. And as a customer, I have to figure out how to be smarter than this guy who's in over his head, and I'm giving him opportunities to take on one of my suggestions so that we can come to some compromise and get it fixed some way. You want to take it to, how about it? I have no problem if you take it to a different transmission shop, and I'd be willing to split the cost of labor if you are interested. You know what I mean? Like I'm willing to do that, because I know that he's not picking up the phone when I call. And when I do catch him, then he's got some excuse. So I'm out, $8,000, $6,000 or whatever it is. I have to come up with the plan, because this guy is an unorganized, bad shop owner is what he is. And he's not just getting it from me, and I'm being nice about it. He's getting it probably 10 times a day from all kinds of his customers. So,
and I guess that's our caution. Like, take a step back in those moments. Is it it perfectly sums up the Dean thing, right? Like, it's us until it's not, right? So what in this is my responsibility, and where am I assuming things? And so here's an example, and don't get stuck on the example, because I think it's one of 1,000 things that can happen every day for us in our industry, right? You go on a call for a dishwasher, no drain, and you diagnose it and you find out it's got a bad drain pump. You quote them for the repair. They say, absolutely. They seem excited, like over the top excited. And you're like, great. And then you say, all right, great. Now I need to order the part, and we'll ship it to you. And all of a sudden, their story changes like in a split second. And now they're frustrated. And they're like, what? You don't have it on your truck? And now they're sending this negative energy at you. And you're like, what the heck? I was a hero, and now I'm a zero. So we can just feel very aggravated, or we can be caught off guard and feel this negative energy. And how we respond in that moment is pretty critical, right? And so, like, what do you think possibly happened? That's what we're talking about, this topic. It's putting yourself in other people's shoes and trying to think about the injustice that they are feeling in that moment. How can they go from hero to zero? There was an injustice. We let them down somewhere. Somewhere they were let down, and it's possibly us. So we can't take it personally. We have to figure this thing out, right? And it's hard to, if it is something that is like, you're on the attack, right? Or on the defense. The first thing I hear in that example, you didn't ask enough questions.
So that's because you're an expert at this, Zach. Absolutely. At the time of diagnosis, before delivering the news, you need to understand the customer, because here's the situation, right? Here's the situation that's made up for this call. I mean, this video, but this is real life.
Happened multiple times.
Happens all the time. This person is hosting a family wedding reception in their backyard. And 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, the dishwasher crapped out. They put it off for a few days because they thought they want to buy a new one because it's older. They don't even want to fix it. They want to buy new. So they start to shop, and they find out they can't get one delivered in time. So now they went from plan A to plan B, which is they're going to fix something that they don't want to fix. So now they call some companies, and they find out, they start making phone calls and getting service appointments. Some people aren't getting back to them, that, and being able to confirm a date that's reasonable. And they talk to a couple of people, and they ask them, do you have the part on the truck? Will you be able to get it fixed in one trip? Because I have a wedding party, at my house. Well, I don't know. I don't think we do. I don't know what's wrong. And so they call and they call and they call. And now their story is getting abbreviated. And by the time they get to you, they're calling, and they don't share that part. CSR doesn't know it. They know it though. Or maybe the CSR does know it. Maybe they said, will you be able to get that part will you be able to get it fixed for my wedding reception? Well, we keep, 1,000 parts on the truck. We're really good at it. I bet you we could. Whatever we might say that isn't an affirmative answer, we now are in trouble because you walk into that mess. So who's at fault? The customer,
and
our CSR, how you respond to that. Hey, ma'am, listen, there's so many parts nowadays. Machines aren't the same as they used to be. Your logic is great, but it doesn't work in this situation.
So the other thing I will say is it's on the technician too. It's a series of failures along the way. The customer failed to communicate. The CSR failed to dig deep enough.
Mm-hmm.
The technician, before delivering the news, failed to figure out how important this is.
Yeah.
If you're having a conversation, you're having questions. Now there's going to be some clue. There's a wedding reception happening in 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Sure.
there's going to be some clues in that house that something is going on. Why didn't you ask the question to find out? Because the reality is, I'm sure there is another option. Can you get this thing overnighted and get it taken care of tomorrow morning? Can you go to a local? I mean, we're spoiled in Chicagoland. Everything else about Chicago sucks, but we got 100 parts houses within, an hour drive of us. Can you send someone to run and grab the parts, right? So but you would know that would be necessary if you asked enough questions, which is another Dale Carnegie principle. Let them talk more. Let them talk more. Get more information. Allow yourself to be able to listen by asking more and more and more questions.
Right.
Which, let's go back to it, can kind of help prevent this. Can you guys talk about winning the wrong people over? And if there is such a thing, there is such a thing. And it's typically when you don't listen. There's bad people in the world. There's snakes. There is people that are out to do harm. They'll buddy up to you real quick. Ask enough questions, you can kind of filter that out, don't you think?
The wrong people, those are the opportunists, those who are with intent setting us up for failure. I do believe they're out there. But I think they get misdiagnosed. These people get misdiagnosed quite a bit. Because from literally somebody trying to set us up to, desperate people or people that don't think beyond their nose and understand the big picture. It all varies. And here's the deal. Right. And so here's the problem. If with a healthy mindset, I believe we are required to take responsibility for everything and anything that we could have done differently, which is a problem because now all of a sudden you're taking the ownership. Let's say you're taking the ownership of my example. No, you're absolutely right, ma'am. I listened to the recording. You did mention to my CSR that you were having a wedding reception this Saturday, and you did ask that. Now, and if they're willing to listen, I'll say, it's really hard. They're not technicians. They don't know things. It's scripted. We try the best we can. And here's where it stinks, because in that story, it could even be, how about this? Here's my pet peeve, my whole life in the service business, where people roll back the date to when the appliance first broke, and maybe they put it off for a week and their wife threatened them, or they threaten the landlord, and then they try another company and that guy ghosts them for 2 days. And all of a sudden, when something goes wrong, they're using the date that it broke. And I'm looking at the service ticket and it's 5 days later, right? Now I could dig in and go, you called us on the 5th. Why are you talking about last month? You called us at the beginning of the month. I don't understand why you're saying we only wasted 4 of your days, not 12 of your days. Well, now we're down this stupid road of why do we want to be right about that? But that's what people do. So I hate it when the worst type of people, the people we don't want to win over, have a legitimate claim on an injustice that we did wrong. So, especially when it's something my technician or office staff knew they should have done better or listened better. Then I hate it. I hate giving a dirtbag credit and taking responsibility. But whenever a customer has an injustice, we have to figure out what they're thinking and feeling from their perspective, not our own. It doesn't matter that we don't have part houses in Connecticut. That's not their problem. That's my problem. So we have to kind of take responsibility from their perspective, and that's really hard to do, especially when they're a bunch of dirtbags like Saul.
It is.
Yeah. Kidding.
No, but there's so much truth on that. There is just such a narrow window of who's a dirtbag, who is just misunderstood, who's been shafted over by other people like that. That wrong person window is just, it's like razor thin.
It's smaller than you think. If you think that in your neighborhood, 20%, 15%, even 10% of your customers are out to screw you over, I challenge you to exercise in putting yourself in their shoes and really trying to look at it from their perspective. And you know what's going to come out of it? You're going to develop 2, 3, 4 better practices, procedures for your business. And other customers are going to love, they're going to love that you've changed your business model. The good customers are really going to appreciate how you go above and beyond and anticipate the craziness of the world. So you have to thank those wrong people for helping us become better as we dig in and accept crap, from them.
It's hard to do. We're in the middle of a situation right now. We have a customer that is that 1% of the 1% of the 1%. They are literally scam artists. Their insurance adjuster and our insurance adjuster both said so.
Yeah.
We've done everything to the point that we can do it. And everyone else in the situation is going, wow, these people are bad. And it's so hard not to take it personal. But all you can do at the end of the day is that's what the insurance is for.
Yeah.
Sucks. Here we go. Next customer. And what it teaches you, and that's why I'm kind of so passionate about more questions. I was one of the first 2 out on this job, and we didn't ask enough questions to realize that this is the track. This was always the plan for the customer. Like, always the plan.
Yeah.
We didn't ask enough questions to figure out that this was always their plan. And so there is so much value, even in someone who asks a ton of questions. Ask a few more.
The way you just said it hopefully emphasizes the margin on terrible people in this world is so small, and we have to accept getting screwed over by these people because we're going to take it to this high ground all the time, and it's going to be seen as something impressive to your best customers. They're going to, like back to your example, what if you didn't have to present options for your exhaust system? What if he came to you and said, hey, I did initial diagnosis here, and the reality is I think we could have done this thing differently and better the last time, and so here's what I'm going to do for you. You would have probably went, whoa, dude, thank you so much. And again, you don't do it for the brake job. You just do it because it's the right thing to do. It's that authentic thing that we were talking about. There's nothing worse than a customer thinking you're doing this for me so that you can get something else out of me. Fail once again, right? It's all about being authentic.
Right. And it all starts with assume the best or don't assume. Either way, if you're going to assume the best. Otherwise, don't assume.
I think to ask great questions, Zach, you have to put yourself in their shoes and assume things. And then go, following up with, So how important is this to you right now? Like, does it need to be sped up or, whatever. So one of our code of values, what is that?
Assume the best or don't assume. I'm not
Yes.
sure which, because we said both.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, ask more questions. Ask more questions. Yeah.
That is one. Now
We're
that
there. Ask
if
clarifying
you're making a recipe of a successful company, Steve adding his code of values is his recipe. Asking clarifying questions spearheads off so much challenge and problems, right?
It does.
Great job, Steve. Yeah.
And honestly, you can never ask too many. I can't impress that enough. I ask a ton of questions, and I did not ask near enough questions to avoid the situation that we're in. So you can literally never ask too many questions at all.
Yeah.
So hopefully that helped you guys. Hopefully, you can get out there and practice assuming the best and asking more questions and really trying to find an authentic connection with your team, because this applies to your team too. It's not just your customers. This applies to your team. Hopefully, you can find some connection. And let's bring this back up. We'll bring up EJ's favorite thing. Smash that like button for us. Hit the bell, subscribe. We hope we added value to your day and that we can help you get out there and serve your customers better today and tomorrow.
Yes.
That's it. Have a good day, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye, Zach. Bye, guys.
Bye, Doug.
Thanks.